everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads. In this Better Beader episode, we're going to talk about a question that I get frequently. That is, why would someone choose Czech glass or glass versus gemstone? Now, in the long run, this all comes down to preference as far as if you want a natural material or you would prefer a man-made material, and a lot of it has to do with price. But why choose one over the other? That's the question that we're going to delve into today. So when selecting materials, I know a lot of people are going for look, but you're also going for a budget. So if you have a project where you need a lot of smaller beads, it may be a lot to ask for the budget to say, hey, I want to use all of this high-end smoky quartz, or I want to use all of this high-end faceted amazonite. You can sometimes get those same things in a glass or a crystal that look very similar, but are going to have a much lower cost. So if you're thinking, yeah, I really would love to use gemstones, I love the look at them, some of those things are available in glass. So take this, for instance, just a variance of Czech glass here for the illusion necklace. I'm wearing one that is gemstones here, all different random gemstones, and then also here's a Czech glass one. Neither of them are better than the other, but when it does come to resale value, that is something that you want to think about. Generally speaking, people are always going to associate gemstones as being higher quality than glass. Now, you can have some vintage glass that's crazy expensive in the Czech glass world, but generally speaking, gemstones are going to be thought of to be higher end. Now, sometimes gemstones are in such a overwhelming quality and quantity that that's not necessarily the case. Take just like a smooth quartz, for example. Sometimes the smooth quartz, when you're looking at it, it's not going to be overwhelmingly expensive because it's kind of everywhere. Versus something like a moonstone bead or even a higher end mixed sapphire strand. And one thing that I want to say with this is don't be afraid to mix these materials. I have the Tree of Life here that has natural amber chips, some peridot chips, and then some Miyuki seed beads that are glass. Same thing here, I have some faceted briolettes that are the Potomac crystals mixed in with my gemstones. Generally, when it comes to gemstones, people automatically think of them as being a little bit larger in essence. If I want to do kind of a funky wrapped bracelet, I have some different higher end gemstones on here. You also generally are going to notice that gemstones tend to get mixed together a lot. I love the look of all different gemstones like my necklace or like the harmony bracelet or the gemstone mixed necklace here, or even these stretchy bracelets that I wear a ton. There's something amazing and wonderful and great feeling about having natural stones on your wrist or on your necklace or in earrings. The natural stones, the idea that they came out of the earth, whether or not also I have some wood beads on here or some taguanut. They came out of the earth and they were actually dug up. Now, obviously, sometimes they are enhanced, like this blue impression stone here is dyed. Regularly, it's more of this kind of muted color here, which is also beautiful. But there's a naturalness to gemstones, even like these bracelets that are really, really old that I tend to wear all the time. I love the idea of being able to say, and I love gemstones, so I'm a gemstone girl at heart. I love being able to say, when it comes to gemstones, the history behind the gemstone. I love to know where they came from, where they were mined, how they were altered or heated, or what their natural color is, whether or not more clarity or less clarity makes them more expensive. And also, it's pretty inexpensive most of the time to get some gemstones in your hand. When you think about it and you say, oh my goodness, I can get this mixed strand of gemstones for $8.99, that's crazy. So when you say gemstone, you don't necessarily need to think high end. If you are using high end, one way to use them is to use them more sporadically, like this sapphire necklace. It is a pretty pricey strand of sapphires that are used on this, but because they're used sporadically, I have more than enough to do more than one project with them. Gemstones also have a nice solid weight to them. The gemstones are going to be heavy, they have a kind of a more solid feel, and generally speaking, they have a pretty decent size hole. If you get a small gemstone, or you want the look of a small gemstone, but you can't get the holes through, check out looking for some crystals in that same size or that same coloring. For the different materials, also when it comes to it, if you are making something as a gift that you do want to use the person's favorite colors, you can also look at what their birth month is. So if you are going in February, say, and you want to make somebody something, there's something added a little bit extra if you actually get amethyst beads rather than just the purple amethyst color. Same if you're looking to make something in a chakra stone or a chakra color. There's many people that believe that the stones do have that calming effect for the different colors are going to bring clarity and calmness, and that is obviously going to be something that you want the natural stones for. One common misconception of people is that glass beads are all tiny and gemstones are all big. You can see here in this example of the little 2mm faceted rounds, you can get really tiny gemstones. The tiny gemstones are actually my favorite when I'm looking and using them in different designs. Also, it's really cool to think, even the earring that I have here is going to be a high-end high-end turquoise here. And when you're using the higher end turquoise, there's a nice kind of resale value in that, or a nice element to handing them down to future generations. So I do have this fairly pricey gemstone, but because I got it not in the setting, we glued it in, we have all of them here, you're manufacturing something yourself in these gemstones, it becomes a lot more affordable. There's no great reason why you would use one versus the other. It really does come down to preference. One thing that I would recommend if you are going to be holding the beads for a long time or the jewelry for a long time, making something, is you want to realize whether or not you are using a gemstone that is color fast, that has not been dyed, has not been altered, and the same with seed beads. If you are going to have something that gets wet, gets in the ocean, goes with you when you exercise, you want to keep in mind that you may not want to use some Czech glass or some seed beads that are going to be an exterior coating on the actual product. Gemstones are going to be generally the same color, the same clarity, the same construction through and through because they're a natural stone. However, there are many natural stones, like just these opalites here, that are actually glass. So they're called gemstones, but they're not. They're just a man-made glass that's meant to look like opal, but opal comes with a big price tag. So this is a glass bead that then I glued on a little cabochon just to make an earring. And it's opal light, or opal like is sometimes what people will say with those. So there really is no wrong or right reason to use gemstones versus glass beads, but keep that in mind how you're wearing them, what kind of climate or condition you're going to be in when you're wearing them. Are you giving them as a gift or are you passing them down? Also, there's a lot of consistency when you come to small beads in glass. So if we're talking seed beads or tinier beads, it's harder to find those exact sizes in gemstone where the cut's not going to be just a tiny bit off. It's much easier in seed beads or crystals to find that exact measurement, especially in the Toho or the Miyuki brand, versus getting crystals that are that tiny to use on your project. Not saying they don't exist, but because you have to put a hole into it rather than it be manufactured with the hole, the gemstones tend to be a little bit more inconsistent because they do break as you're trying to get the hole into the stone. It's fascinating to me, and I go through phases where I wear one over the other. We have an insane amount of gemstones on our website, as well as high-end gemstones and affordable gemstones, kind of all mixed in between. And I love gemstones. Most of the older jewelry that I pick up is a combination of both the gemstones, the wire, and also, like I have in here, the seed beads. So there's no right or wrong reason, again, I keep on repeating myself for this, but why choose gemstones versus a glass bead or a crystal bead? Some people really love the idea of it being a naturally occurring item. Keep in mind, there's a difference between crystal quartz and crystals like Swarovski. Man-made glass versus actual natural quartz crystal. So keep that in mind. That's a common misconception with a lot of people, that actually crystals are natural. So the crystals are actually a man-made glass. It used to be infused with lead, now it's done through a different process, but it is not a natural crystal that you're getting when you order a Swarovski or Potomac crystal. it is a glass bead that has been manufactured versus a crystal quartz like rose quartz or a clear quartz when you're purchasing that end. So it's really helpful if you want to get into gemstones to get a little bit of knowledge and background on the product in order to make an educated decision. When it comes to the glass beads, they're generally a little bit cheaper because they are manufactured versus found. You don't have that breakage rate for a lot of them while getting the hole through. And then when it comes to breaking after the fact, the gemstones are usually a lot less likely to break than the actual glass beads, depending on their shape and style of their cut. So is one better than the other? Nope, not according to me. Is it wrong to mix glass and gemstones? Absolutely not in my book. I think the most beautiful designs that I see actually combined metal, glass, gemstone all into one, and that's really the jewelry that I gravitate towards most. If you do want to check out our huge supply of gemstones as well as glass, make sure to check out our website that we have linked below. In the comments too, I love to read and find out what are the reasons that you gravitate towards one versus the other, because that really answers and helps people make educated decisions to make their purchases. You might have a question or a comment that you list below that somebody didn't think about when they're going in and making their selection from their materials. Keep in mind also you can subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates from us here at Potomac Beads. So gemstones versus glass, I think it's an even match and an even battle. Yes, gemstones sometimes come with a price tag and glass usually is a little bit more affordable, but you have that history and that idea behind those natural gemstones that I personally love. As always, hopefully this episode just kind of got thinking in your mind why you choose one over the other, what the reasons are, and lead you, as always, to become a better beater. Thanks so much for watching, and enjoy your gemstones and your glass, your metal, your wood, your pearls, and all of the things in between that you can combine, mix together, and make some awesome jewelry.